Welcome to Real Talks with Pinks. Thank you for the love we've been receiving on the channel. We are still celebrating Women's Month, and Women's Month wouldn't be complete without inviting our gynecologist, Dr. Letlala, to the show. Meg, can you please introduce yourself to our guests?
Thank you so much, Meg. Thank you for having me. I feel very honored, especially during this wonderful time of Women's Month. Lebitso la ka ke Lineo Letlala. I'm a gynecologist based in Maseru, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so we are going to talk about how a visit to a gynecologist can save your life. So first of all, I'm going to ask you to tell us, what is the study of gynecology? What does it mean? What do gynecologists do? And just explain a bit your journey. How did you end up being a gynecologist?
Okay, for clarity's sake, obstetrician gynecologist is one discipline. The obstetrician part is a doctor that deals with pregnant women, from preconception to conception, to antenatal care, to delivery, and then post-delivery. At least 6 weeks after delivery, that's when you still incorporate that as obstetrics. And then gynecology is where you deal with women that are not pregnant, whether sick or not sick, but who's sick, understanding about their reproductive health. So it becomes one specialty that one does together as obstetrician gynecologist.
Oh, wow.
And then coming up to how I studied medicine, when I went undergraduate, I did my undergraduate at the University of the Free State. At that time, I always felt that I wanted to be a general surgeon. I think every doctor, most of the doctors, when they come into medicine, they always think general surgery. But during my stay at the University of the Free State and during my internship, I realized that I really loved obstetrics. When I got into the labor ward, I always felt encouraged. I always felt that this is who I really want to be. And then meeting one doctor who really inspired me, then I felt I wanted to do this for life. And then I came back home and I joined Queen Mamahato Hospital. At that time, then I realized that my desire for becoming an obstetrician gynecologist actually grew the more because of one, lack of specialists, and two, having a doctor that can be able to communicate with Basotho with their own languages and explain to them. And then the bulk and the magnitude of gynae conditions in Lesotho, I realized that I really needed to go back to school and specialize in obstetrics and gynae. Then in 2011, I went back to the University of the Free State and then joined College of Medicine South Africa as a specialist and did my 5-year program. Then came back to Lesotho to work as the head of department at Tshepong, Queen Mamahato Hospital in Obs and Gynae. That's my journey. And then currently, I am a consultant and a specialist at Shealth Clinic, which is a clinic that I developed after I left, or established rather after I left Queen Mamahato Hospital last year in 2019 October, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So for many women to understand what we're talking about, I want you to explain to all of us, at what age should women start visiting a gynecologist, and why is it important to start visiting? Should we go when we are healthy or feeling sick? When is the right age and time?
Pinky, I always advise that every young girl starting from their first menstrual period, their parents should actually facilitate their first meeting with a gynecologist. One, so that they understand how their body works, so that they understand that menstruation is not this monster that comes over them, but rather a part of their important reproductive health, which they need to understand right from their first menstrual cycle to what it means to them when it's abnormal and when it's not abnormal. Because I realized that some of the things that happen right from puberty have a direct impact on a woman later, whether they want to have a baby or whether they are going through other gynecological conditions that should have been otherwise identified and managed right from their first menstrual period. So that is for one. And then for any woman, I always advise that at least once a year, they visit their gynecologist to ensure that all things are still well. We can all admit that women's reproductive system is mostly internal, and one wouldn't know that there's something that is going wrong with them until they have a condition that warrants them to visit to a gynae and only find out they're actually having issues that could have been identified while they were still healthy and with no conditions. So at least once a year, they should visit their gynecologist. I always say, try and put it as your treat according your birthday time or around your birthday month, to say, at least during my birthday month, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, including visiting a gynae and ensuring that as a woman, I'm still healthy. Yes. So that is in general what I would advise women to do.
So I see.
And you don't need to be sick. You don't need to be sick.
sick.
You come in while you're still healthy so that you know what is good and what is right. And then so that you will immediately identify when you are sick.
Some of us were only taught that we need to visit a gynecologist when we do a pap smear. We didn't know about all this information you are giving us.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of women will agree with me that they only visited a gynecologist to do a pap smear. Please, let's get on to a pap smear. What is a pap smear? What does it seek to do, and why is it important for women to do a pap smear?
A pap smear is an investigative tool that is done when we want to see if a woman has got clinical signs of cervical cancer or what we call precancerous lesions of the cervix. But moreover and above that, we actually want to understand the ecosystem of the vagina, because it can even interpret to you the pH system, the pH system.
No, we are back. We can continue. Don't worry.
Okay. It can actually indicate to you when one has got an ecosystem, the vaginal pH is distorted, when one has got other bacterial infections that have actually replaced the normal flora. It can also tell you about any other virus or a candidiasis that is out of the normal. So in a nutshell, mainly to screen for cervical cancer, but also to inform a gynecologist and the woman of any other thing that might be taking over their vaginal ecosystem. For an example, if one presents with a vaginal discharge that is not responding to any form of treatment, one can actually do a pap smear to say, is there any other organism that is actually taking over and causing a vaginal discharge that is not responding to any form of treatment?
Oh, wow. I was so
yes.
stubborn. I think a friend of mine actually just saved me as well, because I only did a pap smear later on in life, because she also discovered those potentially dangerous cancerous cells when she did a pap smear. That's the only time I felt the need to also do a pap smear, because all the time I was like, no, I'm healthy. My menstrual cycle is very regular. I don't struggle with such things. So this is very important for most of the women to know that they need to visit a gynecologist. So can you please get on to women face a lot of reproductive health issues when it comes to fertility issues? I know you just mentioned that sometimes when we visit, especially when we are healthy, we are able to detect things that are abnormal with our bodies, even before we start preparing to have families. But a lot of us usually discover when we want to start to have families that there are issues that are not normal. I don't understand. Maybe just explain fertility issues and why other people struggle so much, the issue of miscarriages and not being able to carry to term. Does it have to do with such?
Yes. I think we cannot shy away from the fact that at least 4 in every 10 couples suffer infertility.
4?
It could be subclinical. Yeah, 4 in every 10 couples. Yes, that's how the magnitude is in terms of failure to conceive. One could be subclinical infertility, that there's nothing after whole investigation that really makes one to be infertile, but rather to be advised on how to improve their fertility. But most of the couples, and I always want to emphasize that it's not neither the woman or the man, but it's both. You know, in our communities, we always think that when a woman is not able to conceive, it's her fault. But 50% chances is it could be the man or it could be the lady. So I always advise that they come as a couple for preconception workup or for fertility workup to find for us to try and investigate why are they not able to conceive. And it's a very long list, Pinky. We cannot be able to exhaust the whole list, but mostly it's either to do with the hormonal system or the anatomical system. Anatomical system is the structures right from the cervix to the uterus to the ovaries, mainly to the tubes, because more than 50% of infertility is caused by tubal factors. You know, the fallopian tubes.
Yes.
It's a very small structure, but once it's blocked, one cannot be able to conceive. So it's a very long investigation to say where could the problem be. And then for the men as well, we need to assess their semen analysis to say, is there anything that is making them to be subclinically infertile, or they're actually having a problem? You'd be surprised that other men will totally not have sperms at all, and they wouldn't even know until they have been examined. So I always say to the couples, do not wait longer. You see that you find people right at the end of their 10th year of marriage, failing to conceive. They've never consulted anyone, or they've gone to other forms of consultations that did not really give them answers. So I always say, start with a fertility specialist or a gynecologist to say, we have a problem, let us get checked, and then we know what the problem is and work it from there. It can even take a long time for one to conceive, even when they are now with a gynecologist or a specialist, because then the problem will be so, the underlying problem will be so difficult that you need to go step by step in terms of fertility therapies. But the sooner you realize that you're not able to conceive, we always define infertility as failure to conceive after 1 year of trying to conceive. So couples cannot try for more than 3 years and then think it's normal. 1 year of adequate exposure to sex and one fails to conceive, you need to consult as soon as that 1 year elapses, especially if it's part of our plans to have a baby, because then age-related infertility is even another problem. Women above 35 years of age, it's actually becoming a problem for them to conceive because of their age, because now the eggs are way out of their time, and then it becomes even a problem more. So in a nutshell, if you fail to conceive within 1 year, the couple should seek intervention. As a couple, not as an individual. It's 50-50% chances either a female or the man that is not able to conceive. Yes. And then coming to miscarriages, we have what we call spontaneous miscarriages or recurrent miscarriages, or what we call sporadic miscarriages. You find that most women will go through miscarriage, not because there's anything wrong, one at least or two, but the minute you get to 3 miscarriages, you need to find out what is really going wrong with me. You'll be surprised that you'll get a woman who has gone through miscarriages 10 times and nothing has been done in terms of investigating why this lady has been suffering recurrent miscarriages. They have a miscarriages, they get cleaned up, they go to the next doctor, get cleaned up until they get to the 5th, 8th, and then they still, and this has left so much emotional scars, emotional pain, and relationship issues. They are now considered as somebody who cannot carry pregnancy to term, or rather it's just a simple, or rather something that can be corrected for subsequent pregnancies. So I always say, in between your miscarriages, get checked up. Do what we call preconception workup. Why am I failing to maintain my pregnancies to term? So basically just get in touch with a consultant, gynecologist, and get yourself checked up. And then after investigating, you'll be surprised that that woman will take their pregnancy to term with no problems, issues, or anything attached to them failing to get to term.
Oh my God.
Yes,
there's something that you said when you're talking about people couples who want to conceive, that you describe that people who are deemed unable to conceive, it's regular sex for a period of 1 year.
Yes.
So I wanted to understand what that means. What is regular? Does it mean every day?
No, we define infertility as failure to conceive after 1 year, at least with intimacy of 2 to 3 times per week.
2 to 3
times per week, and failure to conceive for 1 year. Or if the couple is able to time their fertility to know exactly when they're fertile. And you'll be surprised so many people don't know when they're fertile. A woman is only fertile once in their period. Like if your period is a 28 cycle period, you're only fertile in a certain period only. So if they are able to time their fertility, we say 12 months of trying to conceive, timing your fertility period, and you cannot be able to conceive, then we consider that infertility. Or being intimate 2 to 3 times per week for a period of 1 year, and then failure to conceive. We make an exception for women above 35 to say, if you have tried for 6 months and then you cannot conceive, then you'd rather get checked up before it's too late, because then the time is ticking, the clock is ticking because of the age-related infertility. Yes.
Okay. No, this is very much understandable. I know people who are trying to conceive usually use some apps to check when they are most fertile.
When they're fertile.
And and some people really never struggle when they time it.
Yes. And you'll be surprised how many people will come And then I'll be like, do you know when your fertility is? They do not know. The minute we correct that, put them on supplements, just simple supplements, and then they aim their fertility time, 2-3 months down the line, they're pregnant. There were no issues. You know what happens, Pinks, is that people will time when they just had their menstruation, right? And then they'll be like, okay, let's quickly try and get ourselves ready because now your menstrual period is over. And then by the time when their fertility approaches, they've had sex so many times that they are tired and their fertility time goes off or goes past. And then once they approach their next menstrual day, they'll be like, oh, it's going to be your menstruation very soon. Let us try and be, because during your menstruation, you won't be having time. And then they've gone past again their fertility time. So the minute you teach them when to time their fertility, it becomes better and then they conceive with no problem. But if you do that for 1 year, there must be an underlying factor that needs investigations so that you don't stay in marriage for more than 10 years and it becomes an issue now, social issue, marital issues and stress even the more, because if your mind is not relaxed on its own, it can be another cause for failure to conceive because your mind is not restful and there's relationship issues, there's not even intimacy anymore, Yeah.
I think before we close the show, it would be unfair for people. I know so many people have this conceived idea that consulting a gynecologist is quite expensive. So I want you to speak to that. They usually say, oh, I'd love to go, but gynecologists are a bit expensive. I can't afford. What can I do? I'll just stay here.
I'll just let you know that mapping is not as expensive as buying a pair of sneakers. Is it? No,
it's not. I did a pap smear and I think it cost me like, was it 200 except for this other fee?
Yes, it's not expensive at all. It's expensive in maybe if somebody compares to what I really don't know. I always say health is wealth. And then the minute you're healthy, you'll be able to make more money. But if you're sick, you won't be able to make more money. And then what I want people to realize is that any form of specialty, whether it's a neurologist or a psychiatrist or a physician, because those people are not general doctors, they're expensive maybe in quotes, but it's worth your life. Just having one gynecologist appointment a year, tell me, can that really be expensive?
And you really have to invest in your health, because I think when we're talking about a pap smear, there's a percentage that you gave me when I came for mine, that a number of women in Lesotho that go for cancer treatment in South Africa. What was the statistic?
It's alarming, man. It's really alarming. It's alarming. Even though I cannot have it nailed at the moment, but you'll find that at least 1 in every 20 women, you'll find precancerous cells or you find cancer itself. And unfortunately in Lesotho, because of maybe lack of understanding, of lack of awareness, most women are really presenting at the time when it's cancer. And you know how much that costs Lesotho when women cross the border to South Africa to get cancer treatment? Very expensive, millions. So you can imagine if those millions will be invested in women's health, trying to get everybody understand the value of doing a pap smear once a year. That is not expensive mappings. It's not expensive. And then one thing I want people to always realize is that when you come to a gynae and you have your general gynae checkup, it entails also doing ultrasounds, And ultrasound, say now you see a general doctor, you pay a couple of rents and then they send you to radiology to do your scans. You pay another thousands. Put that together, you could have gone to a consultant gynecologist who will do that together and put your clinical history and say, this is where the problem is, So I think it all boils down to what is important for an individual. And if you think your reproductive health is very important to you, then we'll never really consider that expensive.
Thank you so much, Nne. You've really made us understand. I think we'll bring you again to the show live this time, and we'll invite women to come and ask you questions. We're just doing this because it's Women's Month, but we really need to talk about women's health. I think it's the most important thing that we overlook in Lesotho. Thank you for coming to the show. Oh my God, I'm so honored. I know you are very busy.
Thank you very much.
But next time I'll book you ahead of time and then we can do another session live. Thank you so much.
So in closing, everyone this month at least must have their pap smear. Then if you haven't had your pap smear, then I think what Lesotho has done generally is that all the facilities in Lesotho now have at least a corner where people can do either what we call a VIA, which is equivalent to doing pap smear. So we should not really be ignorant of the fact that you don't need to come to a gynae only. There's a number of facilities in Lesotho where you can do just to do a pap smear, you know, and then know generally where you are in terms of cervical cancer, which is the leading cause of death in Lesotho. Gynecological cancer is the leading gynecological cancer in Lesotho. So we really have to be aware of the fact that at least once a year, do your pap smear, and it's readily available in most health centers in Lesotho.
I didn't know that is the leading cause of death for women, cervical cancer.
Yeah, gynecological cancers is the leading gynecological cancer. Yes. Is the leading gynecological cancer in Lesotho. It is very, very, very painful. And contrary to what people believe, young girls, 24 years of age, 25 years of age, they have full-blown cancer. And if we could just say, let me do myself just, every health center mapping in Lesotho, if it's not a health center, every district hospital in Lesotho have got means of doing a VIA or a pap smear, believe me. So there's no excuse for women to be saying they cannot afford to do a pap smear. And most of the time you find it's only 15 rands to walk into a health facility and get your pap smear done. Or sometimes other facilities are for free, you know, you don't have to pay anything.
So you just educated me, because even when I encourage people to do a pap smear, I'm always like, go to a gynecologist. I didn't know you can do it at any other health center.
Even a general doctor can do your pap smear. It's important to do your gynae exam once a year, but pap smears are readily available to any health clinic. You know, the normal clinic in the at the most rural area, they will have means to do a VIA, visual inspection of the cervix, or a pap smear. So there is no point for us. And there's been a number of initiatives in the country to try and get all women to do their pap smears. So I think the myth that women are actually the most, I don't know what to say, agents maybe, of other women not wanting to go to do a pap smear. They'll be telling them how painful it is, how uncomfortable it was, you know, how they couldn't do it because the sister was rough and women will be totally scared. And I don't know how many times I've done a pap smear and somebody says, "Are you done?
I'm one of them."
Yeah, are you done? And I'll be like, "Yes, I'm done." But people have been telling me that this is the worst. I always say, compare having a cancer where you always have to go for chemo radiation. Your hair is peeling off. Your skin is not toned. You know, you have issues with eating and you're vomiting, compared to 1 minute of a pap smear and then you're done. You know, so it's actually a myth, Pinky. Pap smears are not painful. Would rather define them as uncomfortable, probably, but not painful. So I think women are the ones that really stand before other women going to do their pap smears. So get it from me, get it from me, Pinks. Pap smears are not painful.
Pap smear is not expensive. It's not painful, guys. It is not painful. Not. Before you know it, it's complete. I remember all I said was, "Are you done?" That was quick.
Yes, and I get that a lot. And I'm like, "Yes, I'm done." Okay, I've been awaiting that pain. You know, they told me. I've been awaiting that pain. So I advise all women, as we end this month, ensure that the next facility, the next general doctor will be willing to do your pap smear. The only thing is that make sure that you get your results. That's where the problem is. Most women do pap smears and they will tell you, "I was never able to get my results. They were lost. And I was told that they never came back from the lab." Just ensure that you get your results.
Yes. So that you'll be informed if you are still in good health or you need to do another one, so that if you have those cancerous cells, they could be removed on time.
Yes. And then the VIA, you actually get your results immediately.
Okay.
With a VIA, because it's a visual inspection, and they will tell you if they see something, and they can even treat you at the time when they see something. We have Sankatane in the country where all cancer treatments are done there. And then it's not expensive, man. It's not expensive compared to having yourself going for chemo and radiation for cervical cancer. That is the scariest thing ever. I don't want anyone to get there, because I've seen people coming back to Bloom or from Bloom and then they've been treated and no, I don't want people to get there. So it's simple. Get yourself pap smeared. By the end of August, just make sure that you get yourself pap smeared. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to the show, Dr. Letlala. Women, let's go and get ourselves pap smeared. See you in the next episode.
Thank you. And She Clinic is open for anyone who wants to come on for their Ghana checkup. Yeah.
Your clinic is gonna be so busy. People are gonna be calling. I hope you are ready.
Yo. Yeah. Let's see what comes on. I need more gynaes though, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Me, for coming to the show. It has been fun and very educational.
Thank you very much, Me, for having me.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.